Technology has coined a term called Ethnodevelopment, which is ED, which places culture at the center of rural development planning. This approach demonstrates how indigenous or traditional culture, technologies, knowledge, organizational skills, and talents can be engaged for effective ecologically sustainable development, which is the goal of current development theory. There are four aspects for indigenous people that ethno-development addresses, which are land development, refugees, language, and intellectual property rights of indigenous peoples. Firstly, land is the main source of indigenous peoples' livelihood, which are subsistence, security, and identity. As for development refugees, they are forced to migrate the urban centers for labor and involuntary resettlement. Next is language, where indigenous communities regard their mother tongue as their cultural rights. Last but not least, intellectual property rights of indigenous peoples. Indigenous cultures were often eliminated and transformed by state policies because it threatens the idea of national integration and development.
Our group had collectively decided to focus on the issue of the customary land, or in Bahasa, Tanah Adat of the indigenous people in Malaysia. The Temia, one of the largest groups of orang asli in Malaysia that reside within Perak, Pahang and Kelantan, which most of them are in Gua Musang, Kelantan. Small number from their group have been urbanized, while most of them live on the fringes of rainforest. In the past, orang asli Temia used to do farming, hunting, and looking for forest plants to support their livelihood. Along with the economic advancement, orang asli Temia learned to cultivate their land while in the same time still preserving the ancestral land that they regard as sacred. However, their ancestral land in Gua Musang, Kelantan was encroached when the Kelantan government had granted logging license to private companies that allowing them to clear the forest for durian and rubber tree plantations. Orang asli Temia felt that it was a disrespectful act towards their sacred land as the natural resources in the rainforest were destroyed and the land encroachment caused the indigenous people lost the rights to practice their lifestyle, customs, beliefs, and freedom to perform prayers. Orang asli Temia had done and built many barriers in order to prevent the resuming of the logging activities, which it often resulted them being detained by the authorities. This issue has made the federal government to file a suit against the Kelantan state government in order to protect the customary land rights of the orang asli Temia, and this land encroachment is still an ongoing issue for the Temia community.
For the development project that our group will implement is the securing customary agrarian rights of the indigenous people. The reason why we choose this project is because the indigenous group nowadays do not do agriculture anymore due to the limited access of the land and the issue of the rights of the customary land that had been mentioned earlier. Since they cannot plant for a living, they tend to sell the natural resources that they get from the forest, which it did not secure their monthly income. The first step of our development project is on the federal level, which we will try to implement the new regulation regarding the rights of the land for the indigenous people so that every state in Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak will have the same regulation over the issue of the land of indigenous people. This is to make sure that every state will protect the rights of the indigenous people that were living within their border. The second step is that we partner up with the Human Rights Commission of Malaysia, or we known as SUHAKAM, to fight with the indigenous people. This is to secure, protect, and make indigenous people as an owner of the land in their own village. Besides that, we also will liaison with the local government or any NGOs in order to provide the deposit for the indigenous people to buy seeds, fertilizer, farming tools, water tank, and many others to make it to begin their agriculture activities in order to make sure that the indigenous people will not feel burdened and to make sure that they will continue with the farming, our farming project will give a freedom to the indigenous people to conduct the farming using their own traditional method or a custom. As example, they only plant specific plant on a specific place, plant only on a certain month, and replant only after the soil are in a good condition enough. So with their specific location, mostly in between the mountains and far in the remote area, it definitely a strategic location to plant organic vegetables or fruits or even the herb since their environment not polluted. So the last step of our development project is that we, together with Suhakam, will check their activities regularly to make sure that they achieve the target and slowly they can independent on their own.
The reason why we chose ethno-development approach to carry out the project is because according to Kasam, ethno-development emphasizes on community participation in development, especially when it comes to the community's economic development. This is in line with the implementations of the project whereby the participation of the indigenous people is vital during the development process. Besides, ethno-development also refers to the rights of the ethnic group to participate in a modern development process on their own terms, which means they possess their own model of socio-economic growth based on their natural resources, social capital, land use management, customs, and belief system. The development project implemented is meant to give freedom to the indigenous people to conduct the project according to their own ways. Therefore, the reason why we chose ethno-development is because it allows the indigenous people to be a part of the development program, which will help them in so many ways, especially economy, and also allow them to protect their land, customs, and belief. Ethno-development will help the development project to be carried out effectively. Next, ethno-development approach will affect the project in four ways, which are securing and nurturing customary land, economic benefits, maintaining custom and belief, and maintaining ethnic diversity. First, the customary land, or well known in Malaysia as Tanah Adat, is very important to the indigenous people of Malaysia. With ethno-development approach, the customary land can be kept safely and nurtured for generations of indigenous people. Second, through the development program, the indigenous people will gain economic benefits since the project are specifically implemented for their economic prosperity. This is because we often see the indigenous people being left behind and lives in poverty. Hence, the importance of ethno-development approach in development process to ensure the improvement of the indigenous people economy. Thirdly, we often see the custom and belief being forgotten due to the lack of practice. But ethno-development allows the development project to be implemented based on their own customs and belief. This will help to maintain the custom and belief from extinction. Lastly, ethno-development helps in maintaining the ethnic diversity. According to Stephen Hagen, the ethnic diversity is needed as the development progresses. This is because cultural pluralism is one of the main aspects of the development, which emphasizes on the existence and mutual respect for the diversified culture within a society. Hence, the ethnic diversity will be maintained to ensure the development to take place progressively. That's all from us. Thank you.